Hi everyone, it's Mark Morell here with some leadership coaching tips to share with you today. Have you ever taken the time to consider who or what is your greatest leadership challenge? Well, as you ponder that question, you might quickly come to the realization that in fact, your toughest leadership challenge is in fact yourself. As somebody once said, how can we lead others effectively if we haven't yet learned to lead ourselves effectively? Daniel Goldman, author of best-selling book Emotional Intelligence, he spent years studying and analyzing why a small percentage of leaders develop to their full potential while most leaders end up plateauing, never reaching their full potential. And I'm sure the answer that you've guessed already is self-leadership. Self-leadership. Without personal discipline, without the ability to lead oneself effectively, you'll always shortchange your gifting and potential. Somebody said, before we can conquer the world, we first need to conquer ourselves. So many who drop out of ministry, they've got all the gifting in the world, all the potential in the world, but they've got large areas of life that they've neglected and where they're not exercising personal discipline. To the young people watching this, I want to encourage you, learn these lessons from a young age. Learn to practice discipline in all the areas of life. Think about technology. Think about spending time with God. Think about your sleep patterns. Think about your eating habits. Think about maintaining a healthy body. All of these areas of personal self-discipline add up to a big result overall, be it positive or negative. A good leader will very seldom say, I haven't got the time. You see, our problem is not that we've got too little time, but the real issue is making better use of the time we have. Each person has as much time available as anyone else. We all get 24 hours in a day. The real question is, are we disciplined in using our time well? For the young people out there, a guy called Donald Barnhouse did a study on the 40,000 most influential people in America, and he discovered that the average age was, guess what? 28. So clearly from a young age, they've learned the importance of self-leadership and discipline, and they're impacting every single level of society. A statesman once made a speech that profoundly impacted his nation, and somebody once asked him, how long did you spend preparing that speech? To which he replied, all my life. A lifetime of discipline, of self-leadership. Remember, there are no shortcuts to glory. Success as a leader will be determined by the sacrifices you make, your level of commitment in learning to lead yourself well. Now, a few questions to help you in the area of self-leadership, and take the time to consider each one. Firstly, question number one, is my calling sure? Is my calling sure? Jeremiah 1 verse 5, we read these astounding words. God speaking to Jeremiah says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were even born, I set you apart, and I appointed you to be a prophet to the nations. Astounding words. Jeremiah, before the world knew you, I already knew you, says God. You existed in the mind of God, and God has created you with purpose and destiny. You see, part of self-leadership is living with a sense of confidence in the call of God upon your life, bearing in mind that all of us are in full-time ministry. In your case, that could be in the arena of education. Maybe you're a teacher or a lecturer. That's your area of influence. Others are involved in the business world, the corporate world. That's your area of influence. Others are involved in medicine and in homes and in sports teams. but living with a sense of confidence that God has placed you where you are for such a time as this, and He's given you platforms of opportunity to influence people, bearing in mind the best definition of leadership is influence. Leadership equals influence. All of us are called to be salt and light, influencing and impacting our environments for the kingdom of God. That means intentional living. Living your life on purpose for a purpose. So make sure that you are living with that sense of God's call upon my life. I've been born for such a time as this. Second question to consider is my vision clear? Is my vision clear? Think about it. How can I possibly lead others when I have no idea of where I'm going myself? In fact, we've coined a term for that sort of leadership, the blind leading the blind. I can't lead you effectively if I've got no idea of where I'm going myself. The Bible puts it this way: where there is no vision, the people perish. But on the positive side, you can galvanize people, you can mobilize people around a vision, around a dream. Let me encourage you on a personal level, on an individual level. It's good to prayerfully write out the vision for your life, the vision for your ministry, the vision for your marriage, your family, your future, all the different arenas of life. Articulate that vision, write out that vision, and then every now and again revisit that vision to keep yourself accountable. Am I on track or am I becoming sidetracked? Vision drives the process. I align my life and my resources around the vision once I've got that clarified. Remember, if you aim for nothing, you guarantee to hit it every single time. Is my vision clear? Third question. Am I developing my gifts? Am I developing my gifts? If I were to ask you to, off the top of your head, just quickly name your top 3 spiritual gifts, could you list them? Or would you be hesitant? I would encourage you, take some time out to consider where your gifts lie and then find opportunities to grow and develop in those areas of gifting. Remember, spiritual gifts are like muscles. They grow and develop as you train them, as you exercise them, and as you use them. So identify them and then find platforms and opportunities to grow in those areas of gifting. Question number 4, as you consider self-leadership. Is my character submitted to Jesus? Is my character submitted to Jesus? Remember, character refers to who I am, whereas gifting refers to what I do. You never want your gifting to outgrow your character. And I think you'll recognize that many spiritual leaders around the world have fallen from platforms of influence and responsibility, not for a lack of gifting, but for a lack of character. Their gifting carried them to places where their character could not keep them. Integrity. Let your word be your word. Reliable, dependable, committed. Remember, integrity means I'm doing the right thing when people are watching me, but even more importantly, I'm doing the right thing when people are not watching me, because the golden rule is you can never be more in public than you are in private. Learn to do the right thing in the secret places of life. Question number 5, as you consider self-leadership, am I dealing effectively with pride in my life? Am I dealing effectively with pride in my life? 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 5, we read, God opposes the proud, but He gives grace to the humble. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. I don't know about you, but I need lots and lots of grace in my life, especially as I lead. The prerequisite is humility. As a moth is drawn to a light, so the grace of God is drawn to a person living with a humble heart. You think of a sailing boat. For a proud person, it's like trying to sail that boat into the wind. There's resistance, there's opposition. God is opposing you because your heart is proud. Whereas a humble person, it's like sailing downwind. The grace of God, the power of God is propelling your life and your ministry forward. Am I dealing effectively with pride in my life? Question number 6. Am I dealing well with the fear factor? Yes, you heard it correctly, the fear factor. You see, friends, fear is the most immobilizing force when it comes to effective leadership. Aspects like the fear of man. What will people say? What will people think? And we begin to live our lives based upon man's opinion rather than upon God's opinion, the fear of man. We need to reach a point where we have made up our minds. We are either living for the applause of men or the applause of God. What about the fear of failure? Here's a huge one for many people. What if I try something new? What if I try something different? What if I try and achieve a dream or a goal and it doesn't work out? What if I fail? Well, let me tell you, I would rather fail trying to make a difference, trying to achieve a goal, trying to achieve a dream, than succeed in doing nothing at all. As somebody once said, rather be a wet water walker than a dry boat sitter. There's a phrase to write on your fridge. Rather be a wet water walker than a dry boat sitter. In other words, rather be like Peter. Get out of the boat, risk getting wet, than spend a lifetime dry and comfortable in the comfort zones of life. Often I think of Thomas Edison when it comes to overcoming the fear of failure. I don't know if you know this, but Thomas Edison failed, in inverted commas, 10,000 times before he got one light bulb to work. Somebody once said to him, Thomas, so how did it feel to fail 10,000 times? To which Thomas described, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just discovered 10,000 ways how not to make a light bulb work. Talk about failing forward. Remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Don't allow fear to immobilize you. Question number 7, is my pace sustainable? Is my pace sustainable? Remember, the Christian race, a Christian leadership, or leadership in general, if you can put it that way, is not a 100-meter sprint that's over in 10 seconds. It's an ultra marathon that requires endurance and perseverance and a sustainable pace. Remember, not every good thing is a God thing. As you run the race, you're going to have to learn to be disciplined in saying no to some very good things. Yes, it's a good thing, but it's not a God thing for me, and so I'll have to say no to this opportunity. At the same time, learn to rest. Learn to switch off mentally and emotionally. Give yourself to hobbies and family time and fun. Do things that feed your soul. Do things that fill your tank. On a personal level, I've learned the joy of cooking delicious food. And for me, it's therapeutic, it's relaxing, it's de-stressing to spend time in the kitchen, preparing a delicious curry or some other wonderful, delicious dish for my family or friends. It's one way that I've learned over time to feed my soul. Friends, let me tell you, you don't want to drop out of the race and become another burnout statistic. You want to run consistently. You want to discover a sustainable pace in leadership that one day when you cross the finish line, you can echo the words of Jesus. Father, I've glorified you on the earth. I finished the work you gave me to do. I didn't burn out. I fed my soul and I ran with a sustainable pace. Final question as you consider self-leadership, and that is my love for God and my love for people increasing? Is my love for God and for people increasing? Really, this is what spiritual leadership boils down to. Loving God, loving people. In the words of Jesus, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Can you see it? A vertical love for God that outflows in a horizontal love for others. So let's pose that question. How are you doing on a heart level when it comes to a vertical love for God? Are you growing in your love for God? Are you still passionate about God and about the things of God? Remember, seed produces after seed. Seed produces after seed. An apple seed cannot produce an orange tree. It will produce what it is. And so for better or for worse, those you are leading, those you are influencing will become like you. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? How are you doing on a horizontal level? Are you growing in your love for others? I just think in this area of leadership, Jesus is the ultimate example, completely devoted to a vertical relationship, a love and devotion for his Father, and completely devoted to loving and serving others on a horizontal level. So friends, there we have it. I would encourage you to take some time out to carefully and prayerfully consider each of these questions and then begin to take steps, practical steps, to become proficient at the most important aspect of leadership, which is self-leadership. God bless you as you put these principles into practice.